The group Guy was one of the breakout groups of the late 1980s. One of the reasons for their popularity was their diversity. They could make you dance with a song like Groove Me, hit you with a slow jam like Goodbye Love, and even make a song that was primarily an instrumental like Teddy's Jam. Their debut album was a smash, with half of the songs on the album being released as singles. Surprisingly, Goodbye Love wasn't one of them. Group member Teddy Riley was credited with creating a new style of music called the New Jack Swing, which was essentially a mixture of R&B, rap, and funk. Everybody knows Teddy. To most people, he was seen as the sole producer of that first album. Everybody knows Aaron Hall, with a voice that many have compared favorably to veteran R&B singer Charlie Wilson. Hall had one of the best voices in the new crop of music that was coming out at the time. But let's take a look at the cover of that first album. On the right, we see Teddy. In the middle, we see Aaron, without his glasses that fans would later grow accustomed to seeing. We see Damion. Wait, hold on a minute. That's not Damion Hall. Isn't Damion the third member of Guy? Who is the brother on the left? And why is Damion Hall not on the album cover even though we all know he's a member of the group? Let's find out. First things first, the man on the left's name is Timmy Gatlin, and he was one of the original members of Guy. As we usually do, we have to give you a bit of history before we get to the answer to the question we posed. Timmy Gatlin and Teddy Riley grew up together in New York, living only a few blocks from each other. When they were young, both of them were passionate about music, which was one of the things that made them friends. While Teddy's mother was fully supportive of what he was doing with his music, Timmy's mother preferred that he get a summer job instead. Inspired by groups like Earth, Wind & Fire, the Gap Band, and the Jackson 5, the duo was in several groups. At different times, they had one group member die of leukemia and another member was killed. Eventually, they hooked up with Clurell Henderson. The trio formed a group and began to work together on their music. When Timmy and Teddy were both about 15, Teddy met Gene Griffin, who ran Sounds of New York Records. The group In Deep, who sang Last Night a DJ Saved My Life, was one of the acts he had signed to his label. At the time, Griffin was looking to sign a kids group. However, it was strange that he was looking at these guys as a group like that. The youngest members of the group were 15, and the oldest was legally a grown man at 18 years old. Despite that, Griffin signed the group and gave them the name Kids at Work. These were the dynamics within the group. Timmy wrote lyrics and played bass. Teddy played the keyboard, sang, and produced, and Clurell was the lead singer and co-producer. While the guys labeled themselves as producers, the label would handle all the production and wouldn't even let them in the studio other than to perform. The group did well locally, but the album didn't do well nationwide. However, they did do well enough to have New Edition members Bobby Brown and Michael Bivins come backstage to see them at one of their shows. After the release of their album, Gene Griffin went to prison. The exact reasons why this happened were never clear, but it was speculated that Griffin was busted selling drugs. As a result of Griffin's incarceration, the group disbanded. Clurell wanted to go in a different direction with his style from Timmy and Teddy. Reportedly, one of the disagreements was over the hairstyles the group should have. While Timmy and Teddy wanted hipper and more up-to-date fades and flat tops, Clurell wanted to keep growing his hair and refused to cut it. Henderson's view of what happened was different. He says that Timmy and Teddy no longer wanted him to sing lead, which is why he quit the group. After Henderson's departure, Timmy and Teddy decided that they would focus on working as a duo. At the same time, to make ends meet, Gatlin began working at a shoe store where he met Aaron Hall. The two became fast friends. Hall recognized Gatlin from his stint in Kids at Work. Aaron used to bug Timmy about working with him on his music, insisting he could sing. Gatlin didn't believe him, partially because people were always saying they could sing. He also didn't believe him because at the time, Hall stuttered. One day, Gatlin finally gave up and told Hall to sing so he could hear what he sounded like, mostly so Hall could stop bugging him about it. Needless to say, he was astonished by what he heard. How much did he like Hall singing? They both quit the next day so they could focus on making music. Teddy, meanwhile, had moved on to producing recording artists like Keith Sweat, Heavy D, and Kool Moe Dee. Timmy called Teddy and pitched the idea for a new group. He asked Teddy to help him produce the group with this guy that sounded exactly like Charlie Wilson. However, Teddy was so impressed with Aaron's voice that he wanted to not only produce, but also to be in the group. Timmy and Aaron had already co-written the songs Piece of My Love, Don't Clap Your Hands, Just Dance, and Goodbye Love. One night, Timmy got a phone call from Teddy, who was at home, along with Aaron. While on the phone, Timmy could hear what sounded like a party in the background. Teddy was calling him to come over and check out a new track he had. Timmy went, and when he got there, what had sounded like a party also looked like a party. See, they called their homeboy at the last minute, I guess. Teddy was playing the track that he had told Timmy about on the phone. According to Timmy, the track was so good that he was inspired to write the song to go with it on the spot. He then showed the words to Aaron, who was able to learn the song quickly. Teddy had the recording studio, the bathroom, already set up, complete with towels under the door for insulating the sound. They recorded the song that night. What song did they record? The song was called Groove Me, and the shouts of "yeah" and other various background noises on that song were from that party. Timmy says he wrote Groove Me in about 30 minutes. Piece of My Love was also recorded in that bathroom studio. By this time, Gene Griffin had been released from prison and began serving as their manager. The group still needed to come up with a name. What would they call themselves? Gatlin says that when he came to the group and told them he liked the name Guy, nobody was feeling it. The question they had was, how could a group be called one person? While Gatlin says he came up with it, there's a different version of how the group came up with their name. Both Teddy and Aaron have said that the group got their name from a store called Le Guy. According to them, the store sold clothes that displayed the style that the group liked, so they adapted a part of the store name for their group name. Whichever of these stories is true, Guy is what they all agreed on. While this was going on, Griffin had gotten them a record deal with Uptown Records. When the group got ready to record their debut album, they decided that each member of the group would have a chance to sing lead or a song that displayed their talents. As Aaron was the true lead singer of the group, he led on 6 of the album's 10 songs. Once the group had a record deal, they now had access to a real studio. As they began to mix the songs, they still preferred some of the recordings from the makeshift studio. For Piece of My Love, they felt that Aaron had better energy on his bathroom vocals than on his studio vocals. As a result, they kept some of the vocals from Teddy's bathroom in the final version, which is why the song may sound faint to some listeners. As for Teddy, at the time, he wanted no parts of singing. However, to encourage him, Timmy pointed to cameos Larry Blackmon and Roger Troutman from Zapp as examples of what Teddy could do. This led to Teddy's singing debut on Spend the Night, as well as Teddy's Jam. Jam was largely an instrumental designed to showcase Riley's skills in the studio. Timmy sang lead on My Business. He also thought he would sing lead on I Like. This is why his voice is the one you hear talking on the intro to the song. However, once Aaron got a hold of the song, there was no question that he should be the one to sing it. Timmy also sang lead on You Can Call Me Crazy. That's one of my personal jams. However, the first verse of the song was sung by a voice that wasn't in the group. I'll be sure. How exactly did that happen? There was a rumor that Timmy had gotten mad at Gene Griffin. and left the studio in the middle of recording his vocals for the song. Supposedly, Gene then said that Al B. Sure would do the song instead. Gatlin refutes this. He says that at the time, he and Riley were producing songs for Al's debut album and Guy's album at the same time. You Can Call Me Crazy was initially supposed to be on Al's album. However, Gene Griffin thought the song was too good to give away and took the song back from Al B. He then said that Timmy Gatlin should sing the song. This explained why Al's vocals are on the first verse of the song, while Gatlin sang the rest of the verses. Timmy thought it was unnecessary to take the song back from Al, as he, Teddy, and Aaron already had numerous songs to choose from. He saw it as a power move by Gene, one that didn't make sense to him. Gatlin's disagreement with Griffin's handling of the song was one of the first signs of trouble within the group. Griffin's next decision would create even more dissension. Gatlin was involved in some way, shape, or form in 9 of the 10 songs on the album. In what Gatlin felt was yet another power move, Griffin and Riley did the song Round and Round, Merry-Go-Round of Love without Timmy. To Gatlin's way of thinking, he felt that they did the song to show that they could do a song without him. Teddy and Aaron wrote the song, with Gene taking a credit as a co-writer. This is where Timmy believes Gene began to manipulate Teddy. Gene even pushed to release the song as a single, even though it was one of the weaker songs on the album. Griffin's next move would ensure that Gatlin's days in the group were numbered. He presented each member of the group with a contract that he demanded they sign. Even though they were already signed with Uptown, Griffin wanted a personal contract with them as well. In a story that we've heard far too often in the music business, the contract was heavily slanted in favor of the manager. While both Teddy and Aaron signed, Gatlin took one look at that thick-ass contract and refused to. His failure to sign would be his last act as a member of the group. At this point, the album had been completed, and pictures had been taken for the album cover. All of a sudden, Gene, Teddy, and Aaron all stopped calling Timmy. After not hearing from them for over a week, Gatlin called Griffin. On the phone, they cursed each other out, at which point Griffin kicked Gatlin out of the group. Let Timmy tell it, he cried like a baby afterward. Even though Gatlin was no longer a member of the group, there still were legalities to work through related to the Guy album. The album could not be released without Gatlin signing off on it. Basically, there would be no Guy album unless he agreed to it. Eventually, an agreement was made, and he gave the label the signatures they needed. He'd received all his royalties for the writing and producing he did on the album. However, if you take a look at the credits on the album, Gatlin's name is nowhere to be found. That's because the label was trying to remove his name from everything. The one thing they didn't do was remove pictures of Gatlin from the album. That's why his face is not only on the album cover, it also graces the inside of the cover. How often do you hear of people leaving a group before their debut album even comes out? Well, that's what happened here. Gatlin would be replaced in the group by Damion Hall, which at that point formed the version of Guy that the world knows. While Gatlin was hurt by the fact that he was kicked out of the group and the loss of his longtime friend Riley, he didn't let that stop him from being successful. In addition to his own solo album, Gatlin would go on to write and produce for artists such as Belle Biv DeVoe, Keith Sweat, Stephanie Mills, and Christopher Williams. As for Guy, after allowing Griffin to break up their original group, they would only record one more album before parting ways with him. Why did this happen? Though Griffin and Riley had partnered to form GR Productions, Griffin was stealing money from both Riley and the group. After being fired by Guy, he would go on to try and recreate their magic with a new group called Basic Black. The details of that story are for another time. So there you have it. Now you know why Timmy Gatlin was on the cover of Guy's debut album, even though he was no longer in the group. Thank you for watching and listening to our dive into who the mystery man on the cover of Guy's debut album was. Please like our video, share it with your friends, subscribe to our channel, and click that notification bell. Be sure to come back and check out our new content. Thanks for watching. See you soon.